Again, Michigan State, quick, you guys saw that. Didn't play well in all phases. Against a pretty good team. And, we talked about that quickly yesterday, but had kind of moved into quickly into getting ready for Purdue. And didn't have a lot of good performances on either side of the ball, kicking game as well, which is disappointing. But same time, trying to finish up our senior guys last week. To me, senior week's always a big week. You're very fortunate here to not only play at home your last game, but also play a quality rival that's not everyone gets that opportunity to have a great rival game. So we're trying to embrace that challenge and use that as some great motivation to wrap up our season on a high note and send the seniors out and with a very positive week. So Thanksgiving week, we're working a normal week. We'll do some work Thursday morning, but then give the guys a chance regionally to kind of get mixed up and hooked up with families to kind of have a Thanksgiving afternoon and come back in on Friday. But it's kind of a normal work week, even though it's a holiday week with school. So last week, and looking forward to the challenge of Purdue this week. So what you got? Probably all of the above and a lot of everything. I know schematically we've tried to do some things. I think as we look at our personnel and our size and strength and matching up front, that we've tried to tweak some things. But at the same time, when you go through the core of your development with spring and preseason, you kind of get maybe moving in a direction that you're trying to shuffle your cards, but your cards are what they are. So again, that being said, we keep looking internally at ourselves and how to make ourselves better internally with strength gains. I think we've gotten in great shape. I think our kids have leaned up, but we're way too small. Our strength level is way too small. With that, our ability to play physical is not what you need and desire. But again, playing a lot of young guys. Those guys hopefully have done reasonably well and will grow. We'll try to complement that with another good recruiting class, have a good off season. And then scheme-wise, we need to keep looking at, again, what's the guy processing? Can he do what we're asking him to do? Can he play that alignment and rush the passer and still play good run defense? Can he play that leverage and be able to play good pass coverage, also show up in the run game? So we'll keep looking significantly at what we're doing, how to be a heck of a lot better than we are right now. Need to be, have to be. Right now, one, exactly, greater feel of the internal issues of how to make our core and our locker room and our culture better internally, how to develop what we have, and more than anything, maybe as a coach, it's my ability to do a better job connecting with our guys. Our coaches are doing a better job of teaching our guys what we want to do, and if we can't do it, how to make adjustments and put them in better positions. I'm not one to come up here, like I said before, we don't have a playbook and hear the plays and we got to run these plays. I think we're talking defensively, okay, if we can't execute this defense, it might look nice on paper and it might work, but if it doesn't work for us, let's make sure we're moving in positions to put our guys in places, do things that can work. So I think the key thing short term is, to me, the disappointment in me and our ability to connect and get our guys to still play better than we've played, because in my opinion, I've said from the get-go, we're a much better football team than our record, and that falls solely on me and our coaches. Well, again, I think the key thing as a coach, you've got to, and I think when you say connect, it's trust, and that your players trust you. Believe in what you're telling them. Believe that you're doing things the proper way for them, as on the field, off the field, as we're moving forward. So, and you've got to earn it. I can't tell you got to trust me, trust the coaching, trust that we know what we're doing, trust this works. But it's our ability as coaches to get that connection to that they do trust. They trust schematically what we're doing, and if schematically what we're doing isn't always right, that we're smart enough to see that, recognize that, and make adjustments and move forward to give us better chances. No, we had actually talked about that about a month ago, and then we had some issues defensively depth-wise. We're already playing him, and during the open week, we were like, hey, even though we still have some thinness in the defensive secondary, we think with his speed, and not that he wasn't doing what he's playing as a true freshman, we just thought he could impact us there. And then that being said, that maybe affects some of the recruiting thoughts as you move forward if he's in the recruiting mix. So our thought process and not moving guys back and forth, we kind of saw that as a long-term deal. We had started that about a month ago behind the scenes, just throwing balls and working with him a little bit post-practice to make sure we were comfortable, and thought he could help us there, and we just decided open week to go that direction. And I would anticipate, nothing's never etched in stone, but I'm pretty confident. I believe that's the direction for he and for us. I think Nick's pretty comfortable with wanting to do that, and I think Coach Johns is excited about his potential there. We got a bunch, several young guys, but I think he'll give us a little bit of top end speed, and as we move forward in time, maybe give us a little bit more outside, speed that we need out there in the perimeter. But again, it's no different. Again, short term, he's got so much time on task. Like Mark Murphy, you go through preseason as a safety, and then you get an injury first game he's playing backer, and the same deal. So what that role is, I don't know. One, he was the state 100-meter champ of Indiana. He's a fast guy, and he does have pretty good ball skills. We got him back there, catching punts, catching kicks, so he handles the ball for a fast guy pretty well. And I just think you look at the speed he brings, and even as fast as maybe change the direction and playing defensive back, he just looked to be a guy that would be better served and could make a greater impact as an offensive guy. Like I say, Coach Johns, we grabbed him pushed him probably 5-6 weeks ago, and started letting me just catch a couple balls, run a route or two post-practice, and after a day or two, hey, he's got a chance to help us. And we just decided we would have moved him earlier, but we, again, with the injuries we had at safety and whatnot, we were a little thin on that side of the ball. But open day week, we just went ahead and said, let's go ahead and get him adjusted over there. Short term this week, last week, he didn't have a huge impact last week. He's still learning the position. So even though you're a fast guy, when you're thinking, you don't play that fast. So, the real deal will be in the all season as he moves. He needs to get, like a lot of our young players, he's very slight. We got to get him stronger, but he does bring some speed, and hopefully that'll be able to help us stretch some defenses vertically in the pass game. Well, I don't know. I think the more you're around it, the uniqueness is it's a state rival. So, you got the two institutions of the state. They're state institutions. You grow up in the state, and for the most part, I'm assuming that majority of fans are pulling for one. For the family has, the grandfather has, for decades and for 100+ years. It's one school or the other. So, but again, to me, what makes a rival great is there's a natural rub, and there's kind of a respect you have for the school because you know them. The families know each other, the communities know each other. So that being said, it's family going against family, and that kind of makes for a little heated, bad blood rival. And again, so I think I've tried to tell our kids I don't think every school has that. If you go across, I bet you if you look at the 120 D1 schools, there's probably 70 to 75 that you would say has a natural, true rival, and there's some others that are searching. So I think we're very lucky to have one. That being said, with the way our seasons went, we're using this week to try to find some positive motivation for our seniors and to end it on a high note.
With the seniors, are you trying to impress upon them versus their last game and take advantage, or are you trying to have them find their own motivation?
We've talked about it. To me, question asked last night. We had, I think 4 of our returning juniors that are fourth-year guys, are planning on graduating and not coming back for their 5th year. And we talked to them about, again, pushing about a month ago, what's your plans moving forward? We talked to every one of our juniors to see what their plans were. And I say that because to me, I think senior week is a big deal. I can remember my senior week of high school practice. We took a senior lap around the field, and we're in the playoffs. If you won, you got to take another lap the next week and the next week. We had senior hit day where at different schools where now you don't do that because you don't want to get sued, but you got to pick your guy out and target your buddy that you wanted to hit, your young guy that you were. It was like an honor. But Coach Mallett did it. And anyway, I was always one of those gigs as a player. Like, you pick out who you want, and it was a respect that one of your last hits in practice was someone that you were handing the torch over to. So to me, like I told our seniors yesterday, we've been frustrated to some degree and not had a great year, and coaches as much or more than players. But that being said, one of the best weeks of the season is your culminating week, and it needs to be one of the most special weeks. I was talking to Coach Deal, and I heard a comment him the last game. You don't want to take your pads off. You want to sit there, and it's a unique feeling. And that being said, so I don't know what each guy can get motivated differently, but I know in my life the last time you do things to me is always special, because I get very involved in where we are, what we do in my life. So I don't like things that, I don't like my kids growing up. I kind of like them the way they are, but they keep growing up, and that being said, things change in your life. Guys are going on to the next chapter of their life. This has been a difficult year, and it's not been what anyone's wanted or asked for, and it's not been what these seniors have wanted or asked for. That being said, our goal as coaches is to make this week as great a week as it can be for those guys. They've to me, they've earned the right being here 4 or 5 years. And again, we've had some shortcomings, but the effort and the time and the commitment those guys have made have been astronomical. They have busted their tail for us in a great way, and our job as coaches is to give this team a chance to win every game, and especially here last week, and especially when you're playing a great rival as Purdue. So how they get motivated because it's seniors last game, to me there's a lot of dynamics that make this week a great week for those guys, and we want it to be as good as we can. The culmination is having a great week of practice, to have the opportunity to go out and play well and get a win on Saturday. Yeah, you need to ask them. Because to me, the unique thing, like I talk about, because I think our young men have worked extremely hard. We work a lot of days for a few chances. So I don't know why you'd want to come back just for the last one. If you could get back for 2, 3, 4, Donnell was back, trying to get back 3 weeks ago and wasn't quite ready. So, the good Lord heals them in certain ways and timelines and when they're back. So, you would have to ask those guys what their motivation is. But again, my deal would be for these guys, they've earned the right. And that's why, again, down the stretch, we're playing a lot of young guys. But last week, Dre Muhammad's got 9 catches. He's a guy we thought could help us win, was out there a boatload. And, Max Devon's been going out as one of our captains, playing well down the stretch. Pagan, McDonald, we got Leon and Jeff out there. So some of those guys have been, humping a good way, playing as well as they can for us. And what their motivation is, you could ask each one. You'd probably get a varied degree of answers. But to me, my sell to those young men yesterday is, as hard as you work in this sport, your last week needs to be one of the best weeks you've ever had doing it. I got to go through here. Connor Creevy, Adam Follett, Adam Pines. Am I missing? Mark Damish and Gray Schwarzkopf. But we ask all of them. I don't want to assume. And the only reason, again, and you guys keep talking about scholarship deals, by rule, you can sign 25 in a class. We have 2 open last year. We can sign 27. End of story. That's oversigned. The oversigned is the 2. We can't sign 3 oversigned because we can't go to 28 because that's the spaces we got. So we don't want any of those guys to leave. But my comment on it, I think initially they were all thinking like I was going to be mad if they didn't want to come back. My deal was you have earned the right that this week needs to be senior week, senior day at the banquet, the whole gig. To me, there are things that you've earned by sacrificing 4 years of playing college athletics that you need to be treated the right way as you put closure to what I think is a heck of a commitment. And that was kind of the way it's been expressed to all those guys. And some of those guys, that happened last year for a couple guys in transition. A couple guys went ahead and graduated. In my opinion, if that happened, I don't know if they got proper closure that I think a senior deserves. And I think our seniors, we're sitting here at 1 and 10. I think they deserve to be treated the right way as they end the last week of their career. I think there's a way that thing goes out on a great note. Oh, they're good. I don't know about the bye week. We tried to use the bye week, again, we had a lot of coaches out recruiting, but we practiced, 4 of the 5 days. We don't practice on the Fridays other than a walkthrough, so we didn't do anything with them on Friday. Gave them a 3-day weekend to rest, do whatever, go home if they chose to do so for that. But, we had the same structure of practice and actually probably spent 10, 15 minutes a day on teamwork and 10 or 15 minutes more a day on just trying to do some young guy fundamentals with stance and tackling, which we didn't do, or blocking and all that. So, again, as young as our team is, we tried to work on some fundamental deals. Short term, we didn't get a great showing up there. But at the same time, that was just the ramifications of end of the season. A lot of guys injured, guys out recruiting, how we did that week. Michigan State's a good football team that played well, and we started okay, but the game got out of hand with And, they're, haven't been a part of that the last couple of years. When you're playing for a division and you're in control of your destiny, you want to play your best down the stretch, and they came out and gave us a pretty good shot. I was expecting to see that a couple weeks ago at Ohio State when they were in the thick of it. You expect teams that are in the thick down the stretch to play their good shot. They played a good shot, and we didn't play very well at all. Well, I don't know. I mean, again, I think our guys are pretty, they came back, I think, even after the game. We didn't make a big deal after the game other than just the disappointment of the way we played. But just listening to our kids talk and their comments, I think they're excited. We got a lot of guys that have played in this game, even though we got a lot of freshmen. I think they're key contributors. They're playing for a football team that played well in this game last year. A lot of guys are Indiana natives, so they grow up knowing this rival and whatnot. So will we, and I hope we don't respond like we did at Ohio State, because I don't know if you realize, but we lost that game. So that's not the response we're looking for. So, I mean, we had a good showing that game as far as keeping it close, but we're not horseshoeing it here. So, I wasn't overly pleased at Ohio State because I thought we let that one get away. And not being negative about it. I just thought we could win that game, and we didn't. So again, we've had some flashes, against Virginia, against Penn State, against those guys. But right now we've been a way inconsistent football team. I think I'm looking at stats. I think we're the only team in the Big Ten that has yielded more rushing yards than passing yards. And so that means, again, if you can't stop the run, and then you got a team that can play with both hands. And when people talk about they want balance, they're saying the ability to run the ball or stop the run. So I think this game, as all games, will come down. I said that before we played Northwestern. We need to stop their run. They ran for 300. Purdue will come in trying to run the football. We've got to stop their run. Offensively, last week we didn't run the ball. When we don't run the ball, now you got a young quarterback that doesn't have a lot of help. Now you're throwing, they're teeing off on him. You got some young receivers. So again, I think, the game, no matter whether you're spreading out in a shotgun under center, got a fullback or 3 tight ends, the ability in this league to run the ball, stop the run, turnovers, that's what wins. Well, it's some flashes where, really good. They've got a number of guys that they carry the ball, whether it be with jet sweeps, multiple backs they play. Coach Hope's an old offensive line guy, and their offensive coordinator. Listen to those guys through the year. They've talked a lot about, being a tough team and rushing the football and whatnot. So their stats, but Michigan State stats, I think they're actually last in the league in rush offense, or towards the bottom. But last week, as they ran the ball for $175, it's enough balance. You've got Kirk Cousins playing out there, on rhythm, and that'll be the same deal this week. Their quarterbacks will play very well if they can get their running game going. They can get in second 2, 3, 4s. They can get in third 1, 2, 3s. So again, but I don't think that's any different. I know in years past when we played Texas Tech, that everybody thought was a wide open passing team with Coach Leach. We talked all week about stopping their run. Because if we stop the run, you could concentrate on one thing, and that's not Indiana, and that's not our problem. That's every school in the country. You got to run it, and you got to stop it. We made some slight gains in running it a little bit better. We got a long way to go. We've loaded up when teams couldn't pass, and had a couple good run days against Penn State and Ohio State when there wasn't a lot of pass threat. But on the teams that had a good threat, we haven't played good run defense, and that'll be the challenge this week, the ability to do that. Yeah. They're improving. I mean, I don't know if you know what that rate. I don't know how to answer that, but I mean, the more all those guys have played, it gotten better. And again, we got didn't play well at several spots the other day, and that was collectively as a whole team, and it started with me and us as coaches. But those guys have made a bunch of strides. They have played. They've got 11 games under their belt now. There's still an all season to be had. But as far as time on task, going to big arenas, playing against quality players, they've done that. So I don't think there's an intimidation factor. Like, why haven't been in against an upper level player in a big arena? We've played in those big games, so they are what they are. And we can say they're not freshmen. They are, but everybody's playing with freshmen, and our guys have got to play better. So I mean, it's not it is what it is, and it needs to be better. And our freshmen need to be better. So it's nice we're playing some freshmen. They need to be a heck of a lot better as we move forward, or that's not what we're shooting for and what we need, and that's not a put down of those guys. So they've improved, but they got a boatload of improvement to do. Miles away, you guys good?
You talked about stopping the run again in these said the real key to that is cheating to stop the run, but not getting beat on it.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to do that. For some of these young guys, I mean, how do you teach that? Or is that just a matter of playing a lot?
It's playing a lot. It's studying a lot. You know, we give a touchdown drive to the day when the corner by coverage is supposed to be locked on a guy man-to-man, but he gets looking in the backfield, and the guy runs right by for a touchdown. And it was actually a guy that played the best game of anyone on defense that day. You know, as you know, my previous boss would say all the time, you offensive guys got it lucky because when you screw up, you punt. When we screw up, they score. And you know, that guy played a heck of a game and has one bust, and it's 7. You know what I mean? And it's no different than when the left tackle went the wrong way or something. You know, it was a mistake. But the mistakes back there. So as you play, it's the ability to, again, to process, to see. I use the analogy of the computer and the ability of your phone access to give you the data you need as fast as it can be. And a good player's got quick access. And the more you study, the more you play, the more mistake. And now you're doomed if you keep making the same mistakes and you don't learn from those. But, you know, sometimes you've got to get exposed. I don't think you learn from negativity. I don't think you learn from losing, but a good player will make a bust and grow from that. It was great to see a guy, and the very 2 plays later, the guy that blew the coverage made one of the best plays of anyone on defense all year, hurling a fullback and making a great tackle. That's what you want a good player to do, come back and play the next play. So as we keep playing, the key deal is just learning our system, but us as coaches tweaking our system. We talked about that, and we'll get you guys rolling. Okay, you good?
One more.
Yes, sir.
You've mentioned Pagano as a guy that sort of, bought in, I guess, as the years going on. What was sort of the process with him? I guess I
His comment to his coach one day was that we were yelling at him, and he said, well, maybe if I do what your guys are saying, you won't yell. And he did it when they in practice, and nobody yelled at him, so he thought it was a good deal. So that was his exact words, and I don't know if that's true. I don't know what he's thinking. But bottom line, I appreciate him as a lineman, and I think Andrew McDonald was actually the first one. Those guys have been, Max Devon's been pretty solid. Dre Muhammad, Dre comes out early, plays a lot. Then all of a sudden, let's get Shane and those guys some work. Kofi comes back into the slot. And all of a sudden, Dre, he had like a boatload. I think he was our leading receiver in the first game. And all of a sudden, there's a couple, 3 games he's not out there. But he kept a great attitude through the whole gig. And, Leon, you got a guy like Leon Beckham who gets injured, but his fault. He's kind of still not healthy, but he wants to play so bad. He's out there and fighting his tail off. So there's a bunch of those guys. But what clicked for Justin? But I do appreciate that. And again, we haven't totally misfired, but I can promise you this as a coach, the real deal, we got to be better as a team. Keep building and recruiting, keep building and player development. But it's a 2-way street. Coaches got to get players to play their best, and we haven't done that. And we'll keep moving forward and see if we can do a better job. That's good.